I'm Javier Palomares, and on behalf of the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, welcome to Miami.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Who is ready for Act Two? Yeah, let's make this happen. How was dinner? I can't hear you. Who is ready for Act Two? All right. All right. My name is Raymond Arroyo, and I'm incredibly proud to be the chairman of the board of directors of the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And I want to thank you all for joining us during the last 3 or so days here in the nation's capital. Our work would not be possible without your collaboration, guidance, and support. As chairman, my platform has been centered around a few key priorities for the USACC. First priority for the USACC Board of Directors, it is for us to achieve gender parity within the board of directors. And through the tireless efforts of our chairman-elect and chairman of the governance committee, along with Nina Vaca, Don Salazar, we have achieved that goal. We are actually 50-50 on our board of directors today. Goal number 2, we are insisting that the Hispanic business community be at the forefront of the political dialogue, which gets us to where we are today. And we are the premier voice in our community today. 3, we want to ensure that our foundation is on solid footing so that we continue to hone in on entrepreneurship, youth and learning, and women's empowerment. And finally, we'll have 2 more. One is that I'm totally committed to is to increasing access to capital for the U.S. business community in this country. And finally, we want to ensure that in association, we look out for our nation's heroes, for our veterans. As a quick aside, I'll take a privilege of sharing with you that I was in New Orleans last week, and I had an opportunity to visit the World War II Museum. Has anyone have an opportunity to do that in New Orleans? If you haven't, and if you ever happen to be in New Orleans, get to see this 4D experience. It is going to move you and appreciate the work that the veteran community has done. Phenomenal. Our association remains resolute in our support and acknowledgement of our country's veterans. And to that end, I'd like to commend the American Petroleum Institute. API's Veterans Energy Initiative provides opportunities in the oil and natural gas industry for our servicemen and servicewomen. Through this program, API is helping veterans transition back into the civilian workforce. There's no more honor than doing that. So thank you, API. Join me in thanking API for their leadership, please. The USACC stands firmly on the shoulders of our supporters. We stand strong, and we never stand alone. We always do it together. So thank you for being here with us. And now, it gives me tremendous pleasure to bring back my brother-in-arms, a visionary leader who, with the help of our board, our steadfast, committed board, has taken these organizations to new heights. Today, the USACC is at the forefront of the national debate, as is proven by this week. It is called upon by every political leader and business leaders in this country. And it is always represented strongly, fair, balanced, by our own Javier Palomares, President and CEO of USACC.
How was dinner? Good, because we were cooking all night, so I hope you liked it. So, you know how I like to talk about things that are happening that are exciting, that, are hot off the presses? So you heard me talk about, and I referred to her as Regina Edwards from Wells Fargo. You remember the $665 million investment in our communities? You remember that, right? And the beautiful woman who stood up to accept our appreciation? Well, come to find out, because things are always changing, y'all. It's not Regina Edwards anymore. It is now Regina Hayward. Go ahead on. Another one off the market, fellas. I'm telling you. She is, again, Wells Fargo's Senior Vice President and Head of Corporate Supplier Diversity, and along with Denise Miles, who's seated over here with the Wells Fargo table, is responsible for our partnership. Ms. Denise, God bless you all very much. Thank you. And now it is truly my honor to introduce a true friend of America's Hispanic business community. a man who has been a champion of our local chambers and is the recipient of the USACC's 2013 Lifetime Achievement Award. It is for these reasons and many more that 2 weeks ago, for the first time in our 37-year history, we were proud to travel to Arizona to endorse Senator John McCain for re-election to the United States Senate. That is not a decision that was taken lightly. That is not a decision that was taken lightly. My board agreed that this was the right time and this was the right man. Because we all believe that at times like these, we need tried and tested leadership. We need honorable, effective legislators like John McCain in the halls of Congress. But when I think of John, I think of a man who time after time has answered the call of duty in every conceivable sense. As a Vietnam Navy veteran, John endured the worst atrocities of war in order to uphold the greatest promise of peace. All of us, every last one of us in this room tonight, we live under the shade of freedom that John McCain and his fellow servicemen fought and put their lives on the line to preserve. And that does deserve a round of applause. That does deserve applause. By the way, doesn't he look like an Abercrombie model in that shot? Damn, John. I ain't lying. Who knew? Before he was a United States Senator, John was a military man, where he first learned to place his love of country ahead of self-interest. He was held as a prisoner of war for almost 6 years. John McCain survived unimaginable torture and hardship. And it was in the infamous Hanoi Hilton, a POW camp in Vietnam, where he first met, for the first time, Navy Lieutenant Commander Everett Alvarez. Everett Alvarez had already been imprisoned. Some of us know. Everett Alvarez had already been in that prison for 3 years before John was captured. 52 years ago, in 1964, at the age of 26, Everett Alvarez, the grandson of Mexican immigrants, was the first American shot down in Vietnam. That's who Everett Alvarez is. And that is the American patriot that we are here to honor tonight. And that's the American patriot that John McCain told me about and insisted that we do this.
In my parents' generation, they all served. There was a lot of gratitude for the opportunities that we had here in this country, because my parents were born here, but my grandparents came here from Mexico. This was a very commonly understood obligation that we were going to be fulfilling, and I knew someday I was going to do it, one form or another. Growing up in Salinas, I had always had an interest. Ever since we were kids, we used to live out by the old airport. The airport had a lot of little crop dusters, and they were these biplanes, and so as kids we would run over there and jump in and play in these biplanes. And it was a real thrill when I was a kid, like 12 years old. Guys I know would go up and take the exam to be a Navy pilot, and every one of them failed. Turns out I was qualified to go in the Navy flight training.
So Everett Alvarez, he's a Navy pilot, which is really unusual. This is an elite status, especially for Mexican Americans.
In that 8.5 year experience, I feel privileged in a way because of I was able to serve with some of the finest individuals that I have ever met, other aviators who also were similarly shot down and held for a long time. So in a way, I like to say that I had the privilege of serving with a lot of heroes who really made a great impression on me, in the sense that we all shared a common bondage, very strong bond, strong beliefs of basic values and principles of faith and integrity and character. And amongst us, we developed a deep sense, I would say we had a deep sense of honor, which, by the way, was our motto, that someday we were going to come home and we were going to come back with our honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, here to tell us more about his brother-in-arms is retired Lieutenant Navy Commander, Senator John McCain.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Javier. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Thank you for your kind words, Javier, and thank you for, I cannot tell you how much your support and your friendship means to me, not for political reasons, but because of my admiration and respect for you and this wonderful organization. And by the way, it's a better introduction than I got at the Scottsdale Rotary Club, where the guy said, "Here's the latest dope from Washington, Senator John McCain." So thank you. In case you missed it, the approval rating of Congress is 14%. Is there anyone here in the 14% that approves of Congress? Please raise your hand. If you just raise your hand, please don't drive an automobile here in the metropolitan area. You're a danger to yourself and others. I landed at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport last Thursday night. A guy ran up to me and said, "Hey, anybody ever tell you look a lot like Senator John McCain?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Doesn't it sometimes make you mad as hell?" So could I finally ask your sympathy for the families of the state of Arizona? Because Barry Goldwater, famous United States Senator from Arizona, ran for President of the United States. A congressman, a beloved friend of mine named Morris Udall from Arizona, ran for President of the United States. Our former governor of Arizona, Bruce Babbitt from Arizona, ran for President of the United States. I, from Arizona, ran for President of the United States. Arizona may be the only state in America where mothers don't tell their children that someday they can grow up and be president of the United States. After I lost, I slept like a baby. Sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry. Sleep 2 hours, wake up and cry. Javier, thank you again for your wonderful leadership, and pleased to join you in commending the life and accomplishments of Ev Alvarez. It's a privilege to accept this award, and his wonderful wife, Tammy, is here to accept the award also on behalf of a man I've known, admired, and been fortunate to call my friend for close to a half a century. That's a long time to put up with anyone, and I'm sure Ev would attest to that were he here. But we met each other under unusual circumstances in a place where friendships were valued dearly, and at a time when they were under some duress. They would become the strongest and most lasting friendships of our lives. So any occasion to say a good word or two about my old friend from that faraway place and long ago time is a welcome one. As some of you know, Ev has been a little under the weather lately, so he would be here himself, and I'm confident he'll be back on his feet soon and complaining that I got applause when I didn't deserve it. As you saw in the film, Ev grew up in Salinas, California, the grandson of Mexican immigrants who came to our country as immigrants do today to make a better life for their children, and they succeeded. Ev was the first in his family to graduate from high school. He went on to get a degree in electrical engineering from Santa Clara University and had ambitions to become an astronaut. He was commissioned an officer in the United States Navy in 1960 and was selected for pilot training. On August 2nd, 1964, a U.S. destroyer, the Maddox, reported an attack from 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats. Another attack on a second destroyer was reported on August 4th, although it's very uncertain that there actually was a second attack. President Lyndon Johnson ordered retaliatory airstrikes on North Vietnamese targets to commence the next day, August 5th. They were launched from aircraft carriers off Yankee Station, including the USS Constellation, where 26-year-old Lieutenant J.G. Everett Alvarez served in Attack Squadron 144. His A-4 Skyhawk was hit and destroyed over a place called Ha Long Bay. He ejected and was captured swimming to shore. A week later, his captors transported him to the old French-built prison in downtown Hanoi, called Ha Lo in their words, which Americans would later nickname as the Hanoi Hilton. He was the first American pilot to reside there, and for an entire year, he was the only one, beginning a period of time in captivity that to this day is the longest period of any American ever to be a POW in any war. Those of us fortunate to have spent less time in Hanoi than Ev followed the example of our fellow POWs. Ev had no one to help him, no one to counsel him, encourage him, set him an example. He had only his own resources, his own courage and integrity. They were enough. He resisted alone, fought alone, suffered alone. That's why the rest of us held Ev in such high regard, not just because he had been there the longest, but because we had found courage and strength in numbers. Even in solitary confinement, we could communicate with one another. Ed had to find all of it from within his own remarkable character. When he got home, he got on with life. We both retired from the Navy in 1980. He got a law degree, served with distinction in the Peace Corps and the Veterans Administration. I earned a less reputable line of work, politics. After he left public service, he built 2 successful businesses, and I continued to be a burden on the taxpayers. Best of all, he was lucky in love, and he and Tammy raised 2 fine young men, Mark and Brian. Ev fulfilled the dreams of his immigrant forebears. He's a credit to them and to the country that he served so well. We've remained good friends through all the eventful years that followed our time in Hanoi, and every single day of that friendship has been one of the great privileges of my life. Thank you for recognizing this successful entrepreneur, loving husband and father, and loyal patriot, my friend, the Honorable Everett Alvarez.
Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down so I can tell you how much I appreciate this honor that you've bestowed upon my husband. He has, he's doing well, thank God. He is behaving. And every now and then he'll take my orders. But he does extend his best wishes and thank you and his gratitude. There are two instructions I received today. The one was from Everett, who instructed me to thank all of you for thinking of him, for considering him for this honor, and for understanding why he couldn't be here. The second was from my dentist. Today, and I want you to know this because I slept in the hospital all week, and I threw it up to my husband. I had a little bit of an issue, so I went to the dentist today, and he said, "Tammy, don't talk a lot." So I'll listen to both. But I want you to know my husband's life is one of Horatio Alger. I was telling Kevin in the car coming, poor Kevin, I didn't stop talking, telling him the life my husband was born into, has led, and has established, that has led up to his success today. He is one of the most humble men that I have ever met, other than my father. He is a very intelligent, hardworking, and he has a lot of courage, as does Senator McCain. I have to tell you something. Everett loved to tell the story how he met John. When they were allowed to intermingle, which was towards the end of their career as prisoners of war, they would be playing basketball or just in the courtyard, and Everett said to someone, one of the other POWs, "You know, see that? Who is that? He knew that it was you. Someone told me, that's John McCain." He said, "You know, someday he's either going to be the best used car salesman or a politician." Did you ever know that? And every time I see our dear friend John, I think of that. Well, he knew what you were going to become before you knew that. Well, we love Senator McCain. Senator McCain has two very dear friends. Both are of Mexican background. One was his roommate at the Naval Academy, and the other my husband. And John is very sincere about his love of the Hispanic community. I'm so proud of having a husband who is of that background. I'm of Syrian background, first generation, and I want you to know that our sons are of two beautiful heritages. And I tell them every day, especially when they get kind of nasty and sarcastic with us. I am proud of it. But Everett definitely is the Horatio Alger story. And I'm sure a lot of you know who that is, or was. Are you familiar with his stories? The rags to riches? Well, I was telling Kevin in the car 2 weeks ago, where is Kevin? Poor Kevin and Ronald, the driver. Come here, Kevin. I didn't stop telling them stories of my father coming from Syria at the age of 17, becoming a successful physician, an Army doctor reserve, onto how he should be appreciative and ignore anything that is derogatory towards Mexican Americans or any Hispanics. Doesn't matter. It's what's in your heart and how you live your life that's important. And I want you to know, it used to upset me so much when people would say things to Everett, not knowing how brave and what a wonderful man, gentleman he is, and derogatory about his background. And I used to say to them, you know, it's the Mexicans and the Hispanics that serve our country. There are more that serve our country than a lot of the other ethnic groups, and I'm proud of that. And our son is serving our country. He's a Navy doctor with the Marines. And he has, as Senator McCain's son, he has served 2 tours in Iraq, one in al-Assad and the other on the Syrian-Jordanian border. I have to tell you a story. Stop now. Okay. If my husband were here, he would do the same thing, but my husband would go like this, John. No, I'm not going to tell you that story. It's not too nice. Shall I tell you that? Both of our sons like to pretend they speak Spanish and Arabic. They don't speak either, unfortunately. All they knew are certain words that aren't really repeatable. It's just you don't repeat them. So Brian was a battalion surgeon in al-Assad, Anbar province, and the village, Baghdadi, the sheriff there, or the mayor or whatever, used to get shot. They'd be shot, and they'd come to our base to be cared for. And the sheriff of Baghdadi is so cute. Loved Brian. He just loved Dr. Alvarez. And one day he went to Colonel Crow, who was the son of Admiral Crow, who was the base commander, and he said, Colonel, why does Dr. Alvarez know Arabic? Now I want you to know, he doesn't. So he said, well, his mother's of Syrian background. So the sheriff went, flee, which is not too nice, because they do not like the Syrians in Iraq. But he kept coming back to Brian, and even though he didn't like the fact he was of Syrian background, they remained very close until, unfortunately, the sheriff was killed. But we are very proud of being here. I say we because my husband's here in spirit. And thank you. And John and Everett are heroes.
One more round of applause. We told you Act 2 was going to be better. Together, John and Everett served their country honorably. These men endured what no man should ever endure, demonstrating the extent of their will, their character, and their stunning courage. These two are the living embodiment of American valor. And I want us to pause for just a moment and put this incredible feat of heroism into perspective. Now imagine for just a moment. Imagine yourself as a prisoner of war being beaten time and time again every day and tortured for years, every day. That's how John McCain spent every waking hour of every single day, not knowing if he would live to touch American soil again, or see his family again, or enjoy any of the comforts that all of us take for granted. Under these circumstances, all of us in this room, except one man, would be driven by a single solitary purpose, and that would be survival at all costs. Now, it just so happened, and John never talks about it, it just so happens that John was the son of four-star Admiral Jack McCain. Jack McCain was the highest-ranking military officer and commander of all U.S. forces in the Vietnam theater. All of them reported to him, one man. The Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Army. And when the Vietnamese found out that John's father was the admiral, they offered John immediate release. Imagine one morning, your captors come and offer you your freedom. But when given the opportunity to leave, John McCain chose to give his fellow servicemen an invaluable gift. Rather than embrace his own newfound freedom, he chose to stay. He stood behind. He stayed behind with those who were left behind, and he never, ever left their side. That is the true yet improbable story of John McCain. That is American story right there. Not only did John and Everett survive Vietnam, but upon returning home, they showed us what it means to be an American. As John said, today, he is one of our most cherished, extraordinary members of Congress. And as he said, Everett Alvarez, who, by the way, earned the rank of full Navy commander, also went on to become a presidential appointee, serving under Reagan. And then ultimately, he became a successful Hispanic entrepreneur. And that's how the circle gets closed. Everett is illustrative of everything the USHCC stands for. He is a true testament of hard work, dedication, honor, and courage. Today, Everett owns Alvarez & Associates. It's a multi-million-dollar IT and management consulting firm right here in the Beltway. He's creating jobs, spurring economic development, and driving innovation. Both of these men were then and are now American heroes and American icons. Now, in this job, I get to do some pretty cool things. But by far, one of the coolest ones I've ever done. And it's funny how life comes around. We had given John the award in 2013. Fast forward last year, Donald Trump infamously declares that anyone who was captured is not a hero. Well, you know what? At the USHCC, that won't stand. We believe unequivocally that he is wrong. And I condemn that statement. I condemn that statement as one of the most disqualifying things ever uttered by a presidential candidate. That alone. What these two men did and what they endured is better left imagined than described. And as a community, not of Hispanics, a community of Americans, we would do well to remember, especially at times like these, that there are those who preach about heroism and there are those who are the living embodiment of it. Rather than wanting to make America great again, these men are living testament that America is already great. It was great yesterday. It is great today. It's going to be great tomorrow. It has always been great. Some might say that here at the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, that's not our business. Well, we disagree because we believe it is our business. Anyone who fights for this country is undeniably an American hero, and we don't forget. There is no us without them. We believe in our veterans. And if you believe as I do, as we do, as the USHCC does, as my board does, please stand and help me acknowledge once again retired Navy Lieutenant Commander John McCain and retired Navy Commander Everett Alvarez. Let us always honor the service and the sacrifice of those who came before us. We're going to see you all in Miami. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.